Is there anything better than a generational showdown between two greats? How about a generational showdown between two greats on a Friday night? Because boom, that's what we got going on tonight. McDavid versus Crosby, Crosby versus McDavid, as the Pittsburgh Penguins travel to Rogers Place for a Friday night meeting with the Edmonton Oilers. Hello and welcome to Pre-Gaming with BORDZY, brought to you by Sherwood Ford, the giant for a reason. I see in the chat, shout out Final Buzzer, first comment of the day. He said, well, Waz said being here was as good as being in the rink. So here we go. Shout out Waz. Amanda said, is Waz ever wrong? I'm going to choose not to answer that question because I'm not going to sewer my own guys in here. But hello and welcome. What up, everybody? Tonight, I'm joined by, as you see the man on your screen, Dan Gallant, Nation Dan, the king of hockey fights, OG of Oilers Nation. And Daniel, there's a lot of storylines heading into tonight. We're retiring two greats to the Wall of Fame here in Edmonton. We've got the ultimate showdown between McDavid and Crosby. We got new look lines. We got new old D pairings. And will we see a new power play for the Edmonton Oilers? But Dan, how are you doing today, my brother? Friday night, and you get to spend it with me all night long. How you doing?
Well, hey, we are together, and for the first time ever, we are going to have the front and the back end of the Nation Dan on the podcast here. I was laughing as you were doing the little preamble there, talking about generations. I was thinking about generational gaps between you and I, and how we bridge that, and we're a generational matchup here as well. So yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, buddy. I appreciate it.
I'm not going to be an ageist, but we do have to talk Mac T and Randy Gregg, and didn't really see a lot of them playing hockey back in the day, so you may have, so that's why we bring you on as well. Today, we're going to be joined by Preston Hodkinson, right around 6:20, 6:25, credentialed Oilers reporter from the Daily Hive, and the man who recently caught up with our old friend Jesse Puljujärvi in an exclusive interview. You can read it on the Daily Hive website, but they were talked about his return to Edmonton, his pretty hot start to the season so far, playing with both McDavid and Crosby. Talk about spoiled. We'll pick Preston's mind about that and a whole bunch of other things. We'll talk about the Oilers' less than stellar start to the season. It's going to be a good one. But tonight, Dan, as I mentioned, we'll start off talking about the old heads. Craig McTavish and Randy Gregg will go to the Wall of Fame. It's happening after the game tonight, which I really don't get that one. Maybe it's that generational gap, but I thought, dude, people are going to be asleep. Like anyone that was of that generation is probably going to want to go to bed at that point. Anybody in my generation is going to say, it's Friday night. I got to go head out to Greta Bar Yag downtown, go celebrate, hopefully, an Oilers victory. I obviously missed the boat on watching these guys play hockey in an Oilers jersey. My memories of Mac T are as a head coach and executive. Seriously, one of my favorite memories as a kid was him ripping the tongue out of Harvey the Hound. I think everybody agrees with that. Obviously, he took the Oilers to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. He's a three-time Stanley Cup champion, the last player to ever go bucketless in the NHL, I should say, and that's badass as all hell, as you can say right there. What do you remember about Craig McTavish could be as an executive, as a coach, or as a player, Daniel?
Well, actually, it's the biggest thing that I remember is in 2018, was it, when the Oilers went over to Germany? I actually ran into Craig at a cafe in Germany and got to sit down and talk to him for about half an hour to an hour. We took some time. I was traveling with a comedian, so I had a guy to make sure that it was funny the whole time. But he's just an awesome mind. He's a great hockey mind, but then also he's one of those, like you said, you know, the warriors, the guy that the stat comes up of not, or being the last guy to not have a helmet on. But when you look at that guy's hands, that tells the true story. And you look at any of the guys from the 80s and 90s generations, they have the hands that just are meat hooks at this point. The fingers are going different ways. And, you know, that's just the way it was. They were dealing with, you know, a different level of toughness and a different level of even medical understanding at that time. So yeah, awesome to see. A choice definitely to have it at the end of the game. it's one of those things, though, that it's damned if they do and damned if they don't.
Yeah.
If they have the ceremony before the game, people are upset because some of the players want to attend the ceremony and they don't want our players to be rusty for the game. If they do it after the game, well, the players can attend it and they can be a part of the ceremony as well. The people that really want to be there will be there and will stick around for it. We'll see how it goes. I know that they've also tried to do it real early before the game as well, and it hasn't been well attended. So who knows? They're trying something new. I respect that, at least.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, hey, you're never going to win. That's a great point you made there. I remember, I think it was Messier that was done like super early and there was like nobody in there before. Damn if you do, damned if you don't. Randy Gregg, the other one going into that wall of fame. And I really only know Randy Gregg personally. Subtle flex. Let's go. Riverhawks owner and the man of the Edmonton Riverhawks. And shout out to him. He hired me a couple of years ago, so don't know what he was thinking to do that. He won 2 championships at the U of A. He won 5 cups with the Edmonton Oilers. Then he becomes a medical doctor, opens up his own clinic in the city. But no, he's not done there. Baseball, his first love. He finds a way to revitalize baseball in Edmonton, buys the Riverhawks, revamps Telus Field into Remax Field, which is absolutely incredible these days. I mean, I don't know if there's a resume as complete as Randy Gregg's when you look at it. What can't this guy do? He's also like 6'6", 6'7", and at his age could 100% still beat the shit out of me if given the opportunity. Could totally see that. Randy Gregg, do you have any memories of him? Because he's been a huge community guy in Edmonton. Like, he has done everything in Edmonton.
Yeah, well, and that's and I'm the same way as you. I never did get to see Randy play as an Edmonton Oiler, but I guess I shouldn't say that. I wasn't aware that I was watching him as an Edmonton Oiler back then. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's for me, I'm a fiercely proud Edmontonian. Love this city and love when guys come back to the city and stay here. It's really easy for these NHLers to just go somewhere sunny and enjoy the millions or thousands or whichever generation you were in of dollars that they put together. And Randy didn't do that. He's come back to the city and he's a part of the community. He's a pillar of the community and the medical community. And then, like you said, he brings baseball back. Baseball hasn't been fun in this city since the Edmonton Trappers were here, and it was John Ducey Park. And for this city to have something in the summer to do and to have fun with, it's just been amazing to watch as a sports fan. And again, as a fiercely proud Edmontonian. So awesome to see his name go up there. Craig, same deal. Those two guys come back to Edmonton and they get it. They are Edmontonians. And I love when former players understand that.
Imagine I just walked off the camera right there and just never actually came back, but I was grabbing my beer bat from the Edmonton Riverhawks. I know Randy had a part to do that with that as well. So shout out him. I also laughed at final buzzer. A ceremony after a blowout loss would be 4 guys and a camera. Yeah, you got to win tonight's game to keep people in that building on a Friday night. Or not even going to touch on, not even going to mention the B word in there, but there are 2 other icons of the game on the ice tonight in Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby. The old dog, Sid the kid. Well, I messed that up. And the younger pup, who's not so young in one Connor McDavid, but it's Friday night. It's McDavid versus Sid. Shout out the NHL schedule makers. Liam, give them a tip of your cap for this one because this is good scheduling on a night like tonight. But the Oilers own the Penguins over the last couple of years, but there's a reason ticket prices go up for a game like this, dude. Crosby, 37 years old. Sure, he's still elite, still one of the best, but you don't know how much longer you're going to get to be able to watch these. Sid only comes to Edmonton once a year. God forbid we both make the Stanley Cup finals, but it's always important to remember what you're watching tonight. We'll get into the X and O's about Sidney Crosby in a bit, but I am a Sid guy through and through. I was anti-Ovechkin my entire upbringing. Like, I am of the Sidney Crosby generation. Sid's got 3 cups. He's got World Junior gold, Olympic gold, World Championship gold, whatever can be done in the hockey world. Sidney Crosby has done it before. And Connor McDavid, right, the other day was asked, who will be the captain of Team Canada? The just frustrated look on his face of like, of course it's going to be Sid. Like, why would you even ask that? The respect he gets around the hockey world is totally justified. And you got to give Sid his flowers. I hate that I'll I'm a LeBron hater, but you got to compare it to him in this sense. These guys have had cameras shoved in their face since they were young teenagers. And in a Canadian market, a hockey market where this sport is so big, had Sid done anything bad in his personal life, on the ice, off the ice, doesn't matter. It would be first page news, but that's never really happened. My point, Dan, Sidney Crosby deserves all the love he gets and more. I hope Oil fans give him a warm reception, because you don't know how many more times he's going to be here.
Well, you know, you're preaching to the choir, a guy that lived in Halifax during his junior time. And I admit this is a safe space. I know we're recording this. I was a Sidney Crosby hater. I'll straight up admit it. I was working in a sports stats industry, and I was a person that was a big Ovechkin guy. I just loved Ovechkin and believed that Ovechkin was better. And at that time, it was just that was the environment that we were in. It was pick a side, and then you were fighting the other side. And so Sid just I can go back into my old Facebook memories, and there is some nasty memes about Sidney Crosby and his diving and his complaining to the referees, which you get. You understand, because he was a captain a little bit too early, I think. And we've seen that even maybe with Connor in some situations. But when you have the weight of the NHL and all of the marketing that it's putting into you and the money that it's putting behind you, and then you're also got the weight of a city in Pittsburgh, it all kind of sounds similar to everything we're talking about with Connor McDavid. But Sidney Crosby was able to take his team and will it over that finish line, and has the championships to show for it at every single level. So yeah, what a treat tonight. As a guy that camped out, I am old enough to have still had to camp out to be able to buy tickets to see him in the Memorial Cup finals against the Halifax Mooseheads. His Rimouski Oceanics swept them in 4 games straight. But you just, it's a treat to watch him play hockey. And I haven't had that feeling since then until I watched Connor McDavid play. And what a treat that we get to see both of them on the ice together one more time.
We're a little bit spoiled. You got to enjoy it. I see Nathan's in. Absolutely. McDavid always shows extra against Sid. Yeah, it's going to be a good one tonight. Bob Stoffer says, how can you hate Sid the Squid? Well, we're in the trust tree. Like Daniel mentioned, we're in the trust tree. But the Edmonton Oilers, with this matchup, Dan, they have dominated this recently. They have won all previous 6 meetings. They've outscored the Pen in those 6 games 33-9. Their last 3 meetings at Rogers Place have been 6-1, 6-3, and 5-2. All high-scoring hockey games. You kind of like the over tonight. They outshot the Pens in those previous 6 meetings, 234 to 191. The Oil power play, 25%. The Oil PK, 91%. McDavid, 17 points in those 6 games. Zach Hyman, 6 goals in those 6 games. So let me ask you, is this exactly what the doctor ordered to get these Edmonton Oilers going? Because I like their game offensively against Carolina. They created the most scoring chances they have all season. They had 15 inner slot shots, the most high danger chances they had all season. Daniel, can this please finally be the get-right game we are looking for here for the Edmonton Oilers?
I'm not sure. I want to be positive and I want to be optimistic. I do think, and I do agree with what you're saying about how the Oilers have been trending in the right way. I just worry that there still is there's a step missing there. And whether it's the foot on the throat mentality or it's the start of the game, there's something that's missing in every single game that you can really point to and say that's the reason. Otherwise, they would have been competitive in that game. And so I do worry that, tonight the Pittsburgh Penguins definitely know that the trend has been that this Edmonton Oilers team has been beating them, because it wasn't that way when they started the McDavid and Crosby rivalry. So, it matters to Sid. They're going to be teammates coming up here real soon. So he wants to have that fun too there. So I really do think that this is going to be a good test for the Edmonton Oilers. And I hope that they win, but we'll see.
I think there's going to be a lot of offense going down tonight. I think this is the time the Oilers break through, and the Penguins have been scoring. And guess what? They can't keep the puck out of their net. Please, please, please. Give me a great Friday night. I want to be positive on After Dark for once. It's been way too eerily similar to last season. as I see my clown wig literally right up there in the top shelf. But tonight, Dan, we are expecting some different line combos. Stop me if you've heard this before. We're blending, but we're blending just a tad tonight. Pat, let's see the tweet or whatever. You can just bring the lineup up here because RNH, McDavid, and Hyman will continue to play together. There you go. Vasily Podkolzin joins the top six with Leon Draisaitl and Victor Arvidsson as Jeff Skinner slots down to the third line. Nobby has done this before. We've seen these combos before, and personally, I thought the third line of Skinner, Rico, and Brown was absolutely cooking, and I think that this has more to do with getting Adam Henrique's line being effective because they've been ineffective offensively, I will say, without Jeff Skinner on there. I think it has more to do with that than really elevating Vasily Podkolzin. Ty's talked about how he believes this could make a second line shutdown kind of unit on there, and then your third line looks pretty good offensive threat wise. Thoughts on the moves, Dan? Because I like it. It creates a little bit of a top nine instead of a top six. We've seen Jeff Skinner really have, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't matter who Jeff Skinner is playing with at this point. He has chemistry with literally everybody on this team. But thoughts of Podkolzin going up and Jeff Skinner moving down?
Well, for me, like I am a huge Jeff Skinner fan. I was a big fan of his before the season, predicted 70 points for the man this year. And I really just think that I may have undersold him there because you're right. I really don't think it matters where he is in the lineup. He is just that guy that stirs the drink on the offense. And so he's going to bring you along with him. And you saw that from Zach Hyman a little bit last year. And I really just feel like Skinner is ready to be that guy for other lines, whilst hopefully Hyman can pull that together with that top line of Nuge, Hyman, and McDavid. The second line I'm a big fan of because I think Arvidsson has become better as his time as he gets a little bit more comfortable in Edmonton. And then I think Podzolkin, which I know I mispronounced, but Podzolkin is my guy in the sense that I really think that there's a project there for Leon Draisaitl to work with and kind of gel with, and just whatever Leon needs out of a winger, create it out of a Vasily Podzolkin, and then you've got your guy. So yeah, I don't mind the jumbling as long as then it's followed with a little bit of consistency and a little bit of time for these guys to just kind of figure it out. Because again, I think that you really see that with the Jeff Skinners, the Victor Arvidssons of the world. They're joining a new team and they're starting to just kind of come into their own now.
So we're going to be joined by our pal Preston Hodkinson in just a couple minutes here. So first, let's do our Pittsburgh Penguins need to know information. Then we can talk to Preston about catching up with our old pal Jesse Puljujarvi. But your need to know info is brought to you by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, because only the finest tasting meat products earn that sweet, sweet Wilhauk name, made from 100% pure Alberta beef. Their jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. They gladly fill orders of any size. You can find their jerky, sausage, and other products out of their Leduc location, or for more info, go to WilhaukBeefJerky.com. So the Pittsburgh Penguins need to know info. They come into tonight 3-4-1. Pretty solid record, you could say. Having lost, though, 3 consecutive games against Carolina, Winnipeg, and the Calgary Flames. Yes, those first place Calgary Flames. The Penguins, 12th in the NHL in goals for, but they're 31st in goals against. Keeping the puck out of the net has been incredibly difficult for this squad. Sidney Crosby has 7 points in 8 games so far, while Evgeny Malkin leads the team with 11. There you get a good look at the power play so far. The PK for the Pittsburgh Penguins, pretty solid. But the issue, as I mentioned, has been goaltending so far. 3 goalies have started 2 different games. Tristan Jarry has an ugly 547 goals against average. Alex Nedeljkovic, I think he's got an 869 right now. So it's Joel Blomqvist tonight. He's got a 908 and a 3.16 goals against in 4 appearances so far this season. More on him later. And this is just cool, Pat. Let's pull up the career numbers for Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. Sid became the 10th player in NHL history to record 1,600 points, reaching it in the 5th fewest games ever. That, without a doubt, to me, makes him top 5, because in this day's modern NHL, those are insane numbers when you look at this. Oh, the guy on the right, his running mate throughout all of this, on the very same night that Sid got 1,600 points. Malkin scored his 500th career goal, becoming the 20th player in NHL history to do that with one team. I hope one day we're looking at this graphic, but it's Connor and Leon, and all these numbers are the exact same, because that is a blueprint I'd like to follow. And as I've mentioned, tonight is the return of an old friend in Jesse Puljujärvi. He plays his first game against the Edmonton Oilers. He's got 5 points in 7 games so far this season, and was a recent subject of an interview on the Daily Hive from our guy, Preston Hodkinson. There you see the stats so far. Look at the photo of Jesse. Where's his tongue? It's sticking out of his mouth, and that's what I miss about Jesse Puljujärvi. So let's go now and say hi to our friend Preston. But first, it's brought to you by Greta Bar Yay, because Greta is where Oilers Nation loves to watch the game, home and away. Greta is a great spot for pre and post game. We are going to be there all season long for our Oilers Nation watch parties. Check out the great street food menu, games in the arcade, weekly drink specials. Greta Bar, it's the place to be. 10141 109th Street, Greta Bar. Let the games begin. Okay, so we are joined right now by credentialed reporter for the Edmonton Oilers, Preston Hodkinson from the Daily Hive. That must be nice to be able to be credentialed, Dan. That would be pretty sick for us. But Preston, you recently had an interview, an exclusive one, with Jesse Puljujärvi. I miss him so much. We will always love him here in Edmonton. The smile, the Bison King, so many great stories. But he's a 4th overall pick that never really worked out. Injuries, poor play, not knowing the language at such a young age could probably all lead to all of these things. My first question to you, keeping it light, how is our boy doing? Is he happy? Is he smiling? Is he enjoying Pittsburgh? I just want Jesse to be well.
I think Jesse is doing a lot better than he's been in his NHL career to date. All smiles, just happy to be playing hockey again. And like I said, like the article says, he has only good things to say about Edmonton despite all the ups and downs. So our boy's doing good. Our boy's doing good.
So Jesse and the fans, I'd say we share a weird bond, because we absolutely love him, but it does feel like he still has lots of love for the city and for the fans. And I mean, dude, he played over 300 games in an Edmonton Oilers sweater. And while it didn't work out, I look back on it very fondly. And I guess I want to think, does Jesse look back on it fondly? Does he still have love for the city, the fans, and maybe the organization, even though some might say the organization kind of did him a little dirty with his development?
Yeah, I would say, a lot of things went wrong for Jesse. That was kind of just out of his control here. You could say what you want about how the organization treated him all those years, but he was also going through some crazy injuries. Like, I believe he had 2 hip surgeries, the most recent coming last season. He hasn't been healthy in a long time. And when you look at the history he has here in Edmonton, he played his first game here. He scored some goals here. And like you said, over 300 games. He got the Bison King nickname here. Like, he knows there's lots of love for him here in Edmonton, I believe. And it's kind of hard to hate the place you got your big break in, right? Like, this is where you broke into the NHL. So it's going to be hard to look back with bad memories on that. It's a lot easier to focus on the good ones.
Hey, it's your first North American home. I think that would always have a good spot in his heart. So I don't know, just you personally, I'm curious, why do you think it never worked out in Edmonton? I mentioned 4th overall pick, super hyped up coming in here. He's got big size. He was great in the World Juniors. We will always have the World Juniors of Jesse Puljujärvi, but do you think it was as simple as being too young? Do you think it was his poor play? Or like I kind of mentioned there, because there's a lot of fans here, and I'm sure in the chat and in Oilers Nation, that really thought Oilers management and development really fumbled the bag, per se, here with Jesse Puljujärvi. We'll touch on his numbers so far this season, but why do you think it never worked out here with the Oilers?
Well, yeah, I think I don't think it's the case of him being too young. He played NHL games right after being drafted, but he did get sent back down. So I think the team didn't rush him in here, but I think what the team did do is they kind of yo-yoed him for a few years, and that obviously got frustrating for the player. And then when you combine that on injuries, it just wasn't a good combination. And we did see a few seasons where it looked like, the skilled 4th overall pick that the Oilers drafted was coming to fruition here. He was scoring goals, but, that last year where he was almost saddled on a line with Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. He just wasn't scoring. And you could blame it on injuries. You could blame it on management. But at the end of the day, a player needs to score goals. And the Oilers need the cap space to make that Matthias Ekholm trade. And he was an easy one to move out. So, yeah.
Well, I'm curious, too, as an Edmonton fan that was a big fan of Jesse's, but admittedly, it didn't follow much of his time in Carolina, that 17-game stint there. Did he speak to, or has he spoken to, like, any reason as to why that one didn't work? You know, going into a situation where maybe Carolina is a little bit more of the statistical darlings, and they like those fancy stats. And then also you had the finish element there. I know, you know, some of those players have since departed, but you've got a little bit of your countrymen there. Did he speak to that, or was there any kind of reasoning why the Carolina thing didn't work?
He didn't speak directly on the Carolina stuff, but I think one thing that, you know, kind of indicates what happened there is he did talk about his summer, like this summer, being free of rehab, free of recovery, and being able to just focus on hockey and training for the first time in a long time for the player, right? So, you know, right after that Carolina stint, he went under the knife and he wasn't able to play hockey until December. Like that's like a good 6-7 month window where he was just inactive. And he came to Pittsburgh, and he did look all right last season. Of course, you know, coming off of an injury like that, you're not going to be at 100% right away. But I think we're starting to see what healthy Jesse Puljujarvi can provide at the NHL level here. And like I said, he's looks so happy playing in Pittsburgh, and I'm very happy for the player.
So that kind of leads me to my next one, because Pat, you can pull those numbers back up. Puljujarvi's having a solid season so far. 1 goal, 4 assists in 7 games played. He already has more points than his last 2 seasons separately. So go JP. But he, as you mentioned there, he wasn't able to play until halfway through last season. He had that nagging hip injury. Oilers fans know about that all too well. This was his first year without an injury. This has been a good start. But I want to ask you, is it the Yessi that we should be expecting now, or is this more of a little bit of a lightning in a bottle thing and just enjoy it for what it's worth, because it might dwindle away shortly here? Where do you come out on that? Is this the new Jesse Puljujarvi?
Well, it's hard to say. 7 games into the season, we see all sorts of players go on like crazy runs here. I'd love it. I'd love to see Jesse Puljujarvi be a consistent scorer in this league. I've been a fan of him since he was drafted by the Oilers back in 2016, and I've been on the front lines on Twitter defending him while he was an Oiler, and I still do to this day. I think there's a lot of good things to like about Puljujarvi. He is a good hockey player. I am rooting for him to establish himself. It looks like he's been getting predominantly bottom 6 minutes there in Pittsburgh. But though I think he has had a cup of coffee next to Malkin on that second line. So, you know, I hope it's the beginning of a new era for Jesse Puljujarvi.
Well, so I have one more. Sorry, I have one more.
Dan, you go, and I got one to end it on because it's for both of you.
Perfect. Well, I have a question for you. Do you have a Jaffa update? Do you know how Jaffa's doing? I haven't heard.
You know, I thought about that right after I talked to him. No, I didn't. I don't have a Jaffa update. I did ask him if he was going to go out to Elk Island again, and he was just like, no time.
Okay.
Too focused on the trip here, and I don't think they're staying in Edmonton too long after the game.
Fair enough.
Eisen King, we love him for a reason. So my question is to both of you. Preston, you can answer first, and then Dan. It was a hot topic today at the Oilersnation office, and I don't even know what the right answer is, but does Pool Party get a tribute video, or broader question, what constitutes a tribute video in your guys' minds? Like, do you need to win a certain amount of games? Do you need to provide a certain amount of points? Do you have to be here for X amount of years? Because I get Pool Party isn't a large part of the success story of the Edmonton Oilers, but you could not tell me if you played a tribute video for the Pool Party in the first intermission today, that crowd would go absolutely nuts. Preston, where do you come out on tribute videos? People say they're way too frequent now. Yes, I'm filled with love, so I think that building would explode on a Friday night.
I'm under the impression, like, I have no inside knowledge, so I'll put that out there. I have no idea what they're going tonight. I'm not even going to be at the game tonight. I have a concert to go to, so I will have to be keyed on Twitter to see if that happens. I think there should be. It's fun. It's harmless. It takes 10, 15 seconds in a commercial break, and he has 300 games with the team. Like, that's more than enough to warrant a tribute video in my mind. Though when I put that out there, I was told that Yamamoto didn't get one. I can't remember what the case was. I find that strange. So considering that, I'm kind of unsure now, but I absolutely think Puljujarvi should get it. And as for what constitutes a tribute video, I would have to say maybe over 100 games. That's a season and a little bit. Fans have gotten acquainted with the player. Fans know the player. I would say that would be my benchmark for that.
Dan, what about you?
Not. No, he should not. I'm just joking. I think Jesse should. Yes, I should be getting one. I'm a person that believes in chaos. I think everybody should get one. If you've played for the team and then you come back to the team, everybody gets it. Who cares? I really, if I have to actually give an answer, I really just think it's the barrier is, do you think the fans' reaction is going to be positive or negative if you did that? And then if your answer is it's going to be somewhat positive, then do it. And otherwise, if it's going to be a little bit negative, then just avoid it. And I think the Yamamoto thing might have just been too fresh of the pull there, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's something.
Do you think Desharnais will get one later this season?
If he's not healthy scratched.
If Desharnais gets one, Puljujarvi needs one. You can't give one or the other.
Yeah.
Right? So,
if they missed out on Puljujarvi, we will be ranting about it in the post-game show. You can come join us later.
Dan, what a plug, buddy. I love you. Let me know in the chat. What do you think constitutes a good tribute video? I see some differing opinions in here. Nathan said a very inappropriate one that makes me laugh that I can't read out loud. Turning to the Edmonton Oilers now, Preston, one of my final two questions. It's been a struggle so far this season. 10% power play, 50% penalty kill. That'll do it to you. You've had below average goaltending, lack of goals, inconsistencies in the lineup. Literally, you could name anything. What do you think has been the biggest issue so far for this Edmonton Oilers start this season?
Well, a lot of people will go with goaltending, right? Because that's the hot topic. It's easy to point at your goalie and say he needs to stop more pucks, but it hasn't been great. I haven't been thrilled with Skinner and Pickard of late to start this season, but you got to score to win games, and the Oilers are just not scoring goals. I feel like they should have had 5 or 6 even goals in the last 2 games against Dallas and Carolina. They just couldn't find the back of the net. And Skinner, for as much as he struggled this year, I thought he was great against Carolina. Absolutely gave the team a chance to win that game at least. The fact that they got to a point was credit to him. And the team had a 2-0 lead, I believe, going into the third period there, and they blew it. They need to score with the amount of guys on this team that like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman was a 50-goal scorer last year, and he has 0 goals. They need to start doing that, and I believe it will come. I don't think there's any reason to panic right now. Hyman's getting 4 or 5 grade A chances a game. They're just not going in for him. That'll eventually change, I believe. So I think the biggest problem has been a lack of the puck going the right way.
And it's right. You look at all the expected goals for, chances for numbers. We will get the progression we've been looking for. I just really like to see it instead of keep telling people it's going to happen, because it hasn't happened yet so far. Final one for you. Give me a score prediction and an anytime goal scorer this evening. Could be from either team. The floor is yours.
Well, I'll keep it in the good books here for all the listeners. I'll say the Oilers will win this one, and I'll say it will be a 4-2 victory. Anytime goal scorer. I know you guys are big fans of Podkolzin. He's got that top 6 look. I think he'll get it.
Podkolzin, if you're me.
Yeah. I'll give it to Podkolzin, anytime goal scorer. I like him. I think he's due for something here.
I've been rocking with the nickname Podzilla, so I still got to figure one out for Preston. But that's Preston Hodkinson, credentialed Edmonton Oilers reporter for the Daily Hive. Thanks for doing this, dude. Appreciate it. People, go check him out. Go read the article on Jesse Puljujarvi. It was awesome. Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
There he is, Preston Hodkinson. You just a little walk down memory lane with one Jesse Puljujarvi. I would love to see the tribute video, dude, but I get it. You got to do Wall of Fames today. You got to do it for 2 of them. Maybe Jesse would be a little bit of overkill. I don't care. I still want to see it. So what are we, 35 minutes past the hour? Let's pick it up now. Let's continue our need to know information courtesy of our friends from Wilhock Beef Jerky. Let's talk about the Edmonton Oilers here, because I mentioned we've got different line combos in that forward group, but we're back to normal on the back end, I guess you could say, because Darnell Nurse is back on his proper side of his pairing, on his natural left side, and he'll be paired with Troy Stetcher on that second pairing. There you see it on your screen. I have loved Nurse and Stetcher together. I was flabbergasted, is my word of choice, in the last game of not only switching up that pair that's been working, taking Stetch out, bringing Dermott in, but then completely swapping Dermott and Nurse. Made no sense to me, and maybe it made no sense to Nobby because he's already gone back to this pairing just 60 minutes later. I'm so confused. I'm so every bit of that. Dan, what were your thoughts when you saw Darnell was switching to the right side in the last game? And then again, when you see it today and he's just back to his left side again, like, what are we doing right now, man? What are we doing?
Really feels like this season we had another plan entirely set up on the whiteboard going in for defense. And then something happened. Maybe the Broberg transaction. I don't know. But maybe Stan Bowman walked in and just tripped over and wiped the board, and now they can't figure out how to do it anymore. But man, oh man, is it a mess. And now this is a couple times, not a couple times, but it's starting to become a trend with Knobloch, where the panic button is hit real quick when it comes to lineup changes. And for a lineup and a roster that we've talked about, like Knobloch comes in last season, takes over from Jay Woodcroft, and just kind of takes some time to let everybody just do their thing. And we started winning hockey games, and things were okay. And so I'm begging for some consistency. I imagine the players are, but I also respect that we're trying to make something work. We're trying to find something that's happening here on defense, because as much as I agree with Preston's points about defense goaltending and scoring goals, there's something in the middle there that I just really feel like Skinner and the team could do with a little bit more of, understanding of what you're getting night to night from that defense. And it's hard for those guys to do it when they don't know what they're going to have pairing to pairing, game to game.
I said in the last game, I was like, we don't know what we need because we don't know what we have, because we haven't let this cook at any point. Let them cook. Also, shout out Tommy. Add this one to the map. Hello from the UK. It's a late one here. 2 a.m. puck drop. I'm really looking forward to the Crosby McDavid match. That's also how you know he's from that side, because he said match. You got to love it. Out on the pitch, brother. Out on the pitch. Ty Emerson, he's going to return to the lineup tonight as well. He sat out the last game for Travis Dermott. They're going to do a little swapsies, and Emerson will be paired with one Brett Kulak on the third pairing. And a lot of talk about tonight that we'll see how this goes. We might finally have some changes to the Edmonton Oilers power play for what feels like the first time in years. As we see it, the Oilers tried out some different new power play combos at practice. So you look at this tweet, we expect the first unit will be McDavid, Draisaitl, Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, and Evan Bouchard. The second unit, we expect Nuge, Hyman, Adam Henrique, Darnell Nurse, Matthias Ekholm. Will they actually commit to these lines? Were they just fucking around in practice? Who knows? We'll see. I say, even if I see them start the game with, one of these different power play units, come crunch time, come the clutch, I could totally see Nobby and Glenn Gulletson going back to PP1. So let me ask you, Daniel, is this the right move to do? Because this power play is at 10%. Special teams is what is just killing this team right now. Combined 64%. You ain't going to win anything in this league with numbers like that. You've given them a run here, but it is like the most proven power play unit in the NHL, arguably, and statistically, once the best unit of all time. Thoughts on the Oilers switching it up? Will they actually switch it up? What are your thoughts on these power play changes?
Here I am going to be, I feel like I could contradict myself here if I'm not careful from my previous point talking about consistency. The only thing that this team really has kept consistent this whole time is that power play. But I think that my overarching feel is that that's the only time that I want to see McDavid and Draisaitl together. And that's why I'm okay with Hyman and Nuge and Bouchard on that power play, because then it's just nuclear and it's lasts for a minute and a half of a 2-minute power play. So I'm still firmly in the camp of stay the old course. then change up the lines all you want and move everybody around and have those players not touch the ice unless it's power play time or it's crunch time, and then it's time to go. But I do think that playing McDavid and Draisaitl together in 5-on-5, then having them come together on the power play, then having them play in 5-on-5 OT, it loses a little bit of its magic. It loses a little bit of its luster. And the other teams feel that way too, because they're facing it all the time, not just when they're down a man.
All right, I want to give a special shout out to our presenting sponsor, Sherwood Ford. The Giant couldn't do pre-gaming without Sherwood Ford. And are you tired of dealership hassles? Sherwood Ford in Sherwood Park is all about convenience and upfront pricing with their Giant Deal program. Get clear, no-nonsense pricing on new and used Fords online with all incentives included. Plus, enjoy the ease of mobile service, free pickup and delivery, and same-day or next-day service appointments. I've also been mentioning the annual Sherwood Ford Food Drive is coming up October 23rd to November 6th. Drop off your non-perishables at Sherwood Ford, Sherwood Power Sports Marine, and Lakeland Ridge Community School, the Wolves. Oh, and they will deliver those to the Strathcona County Food Bank. We love Sherwood Ford. And also, dude, I didn't know this before, so I don't drive a Ford. I'm not going to mention what type of vehicle because, come on, if I could get a Ford, I would.
Fine.
They do their mobile service, valet service for your oil change, even if you don't drive a Ford. So what? I am booking. I know. I couldn't believe this. So what? I can just call them up at the office, drive to the office, say, hey, I'm going to be here all day, but I need my oil change. They'll come pick it up, take it to Sherwood Ford, and then they'll take it back, and I don't even drive a Ford. That's why they're the Giant for a reason. They got giant deals, giant convenience. Dude, that's awesome. Like, that's pretty cool.
It is, and I was going to just give another shout out for that food drive. I had the honor of delivering some of that food a couple of years ago, and man, it's so cool to see in a smaller community like Sherwood Park be able to make that impact, and that's what Sherwood Ford does, a giant impact.
Oh, damn, way to throw the tagline in there, my guy. We already went through the lineup, but Pat, if you just want to throw it back up there for me, get a good look for anyone who's joining late. Vasily Podkolzin into the top 6 with Leon and Victor Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner with Rico, and our boy Brownie. And all I want to say, so pull up also here, Pat, I know I'm asking you to do a lot. Can you pull up the head-to-head between the Penguins and the Edmonton Oilers? Because you look at those numbers from the Oilers, special teams, not making special plays and whatnot. 10.5% on the power play, 54.5 on the PK. You straight up cannot win with a PK below 70. We got to start picking up our bootstraps here. It's bananas to think about with special teams. The Oilers power play has always been elite. And after what the PK did in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you're like, man, what has happened? Let's talk power play here, though. One thing I want to mention, Victor Arvidsson coming to the top unit. I said that Victor Arvidsson is going to set a career high in goals this year. I don't even know if he has a point yet so far this season. Maybe it will happen, but I like the idea of him. Oh, no, I guess he doesn't have a point. Shut up, Pat. Man's quick on it. I like the idea of RV being on the top power play. And if you could have a right-handed one-timer at the top of that dot, and I've seen Leon and RV here have some chemistry. I don't know if Arvidsson has hit the net once on one of those one-timer opportunities, but he has been getting them. I'm excited for this, and little precursor to Bordzy's bankroll. Arvidsson power play point is loaded tonight with plus money. Dan, am I crazy that like you could have Leon on one side, Arvidsson on the other, and I don't know who you put in the middle. We talked about Jeff Skinner today on ONE. He's not big, but he is very skilled, good hands in front. Thoughts on Arvidsson joining the top power play? Because he doesn't have a point yet. It wasn't really the guy you thought would get up there, but thoughts?
Yeah, I don't mind the move. It's a guy that is a really good perimeter shooter. And again, I think as his time has rolled on here in Edmonton, he's becoming better. I had concerns earlier on in the season that the guy was looking for a little bit too much of the extracurriculars and he was catching the attention of the referees, not so much the other team. But offensively, he's a talented dude. I do have another question and concern about changing the two positions there. I kind of would have liked to have seen either Hyman stay up there with an Arvidsson or flip it around. Skinner stays up and yeah. So, but you know, you're going to get a different look from this option. And then having Skinner and Arvidsson shooting and firing, maybe that does draw some of the attention away from a Leon Draisaitl and opens up his shot as well. So yeah, anything is going to be interesting to see how it works on the ice, but I'm still in that camp of let's go to the old nuclear deterrent.
I think it'd be so classic Edmonton Oilers if we just saw first power play. They just put the old boys back out and we're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, wasted 15 minutes on pregaming today about that one. The other special teams, PK, absolute dog shit right now. There's no other word for it. Can't stop a nosebleed. Jason Demers had a good point today on ONE. He said was losing Ryan McLeod maybe actually a big deal with this team. For as much crap as we gave the guy about not scoring, he didn't get scored on a lot. When we were talking about the cardio line, at least they weren't getting scored on, but you lost a bunch of guys to that PK, Fogle, McLeod, Vinny, Cece, just to name a few. A lot of bodies to replace, sure, but they got to be better. You're going to have Malkin and you're going to have Sid bearing down on you tonight. Please, for the love of God, give me some kills. And Stuart Skinner, you might have to be the best penalty killer again tonight. So we'll see how that goes. Let's move now to our starting goaltender report brought to you by Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. Because let's hit the waves. What is it? Hit the trails this winter and the waves next summer. Damn it, I didn't have the ad read right open in front of me for that. As fellow hockey fans, the team at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine are helping Oilers Nation fans gear up. They're home of an ATV for just $50 bi-weekly, or cruise the open water for as low as $105 bi-weekly. Sherwood Power Sports and Marine are hockey fans helping hockey fans get ready for their next adventure with motorcycles, quads, e-bikes, boats, whatever toys you can think of. So let's pull it up now, Pat. The head-to-head, the tail of the tape between our two goaltenders. Can't wait for the day that it's going to be yellow on our side at one point, because I don't think since game one it has ever been yellow on our side yet. Stuart Skinner, he's 1-3-0 record, 374 goals against, 866 save percentage. And then Joel Blomqvist, 2-2, 3.16 goals against, 908 save percentage. Shout out to Preston there for coming on the show, because we all know Stu hasn't been great to start the year. I thought he was exactly that against Carolina, and I might use the word great there. Frank Saravalli came on ONE and he said Skinner's value is not seen the same way around the NHL. I totally get it. We totally overvalue our guys. Still think Raph Lavoie could be the greatest player ever, which he's not in the Oilers anymore. But sometimes your PK isn't there. You need your goaltender to be the best. But I don't know. My thing with Stuart Skinner, dude, is like we made a clip from AD of me and Bag Milk giving Stuart Skinner love, and we lost the game. Holy shit, man. You would have thought we said Darnell Nurse needs a pay raise. Everybody's in the comments saying, well, he was flopping around like a fish. He was out of position. He was making the saves. So now we're complaining about how he's making the saves. This dude literally cannot win sometimes in this fan base. I thought he gave them more than a chance to win in that game against Carolina. If Janmark can just get that puck out of the zone, we're on the PK after he makes the save of the season, we'd all be singing a different tune. Thoughts on Stuart Skinner getting the start tonight? And maybe this could be a get-right game for him too.
I think that maybe the fans are guilty a little bit of remembering the previous games and kind of ignoring the current result in front of them, and then vice versa. Maybe you and Bag Milk were a little bit more focused on the game at hand versus the totality of his resume. Skinner has had 2 games this season where he's had some questionable goals where it's just like, you cannot have that. And so that's okay, because NHL goaltenders are allowed to have those in a 40-game season for themselves. He's a good goaltender. He's not great, and we know that about him. We understood that going into it last season, and you see in Pittsburgh on the other side of this matchup, kind of the same situation as we had with Jack Campbell. They've sent the guy home and told him they don't want him around the organization right now. And so they're looking at 2 rookie or young goaltenders. Nedeljkovic is not a rookie by any means, but still young and unproven. And so, I mean, it's just goalies are voodoo, and a season is long for a reason. I don't have as many question marks as I did last year around Jack Campbell as I do around Stuart Skinner this year. So I'm not as concerned, but I do understand the fans getting kind of a little bit weary through 6 games, questioning 2 of those games and the results that you get from Stuart Skinner. So they're hovering around the panic button, and I understand it, but at the same time, it's a long season, and the Edmonton Oilers are not going to be at the bottom of the standings, and the Calgary Flames are not going to be at the top of the standings.
I understand the inconsistencies with Stu. I just maybe I need some of these people in the chat. Most of you in pregame, you guys are always the best. But okay, like you can't move the goalposts. If he plays bad, sure, shit on him. But if he plays good, you have to say good job, Stu, and say, okay, there's one. We do want him to be good. We all want that. So we should probably shoot for that. I laughed at Nathan Keating said 900. That's all we need. This year might be 910 because Stu had a 909 in the last game and didn't quite work out for the Edmonton Oilers in that one. On the other side of it, it's Joel Blomqvist starting for the Pens tonight. I'll be honest, don't really know a lot about this dude. He's 22. He's from Finland, second round pick in 2020. Got good numbers so far. And I say, Dan, I see this game when I rub my crystal ball, see this game going one of two ways. I could either he gets shelled for 5+ goals. The Edmonton Oilers, we're back. The power play's back and we're feeling good about it. Or he stands on his head and makes 40+ saves and the Edmonton Oilers get goalied yet again. Which one's more likely? You tell me.
This team, this Edmonton team in previous years, I would say it's likely that he's going to get goal, or that we're going to allow him to goalie us, because our shooting used to be high and high quality, but this season it's been very questionable. Outside of Jeff Skinner, nobody is firing the puck at any kind of a consistent rate. So I really do think that the Edmonton Oilers are the dictators of how tonight goes, depending on that shot total. If the Oilers have 40 shots on the board, I think that they've won the hockey game the way that this team has played so far this season. So let's say this first option. Let's say that they get those shots and we've scored a bunch of goals.
Take the over tonight, baby. I'm feeling good about the over. And speaking of the over, let's move to Bordzy's Bankroll, brought to you by Bet365, because Bordzy's Bankroll is brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Pre-Gaming with Bordsy. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the code, bottom of your screen. It changed. All capitals, Nation, N-A-T-I-O-N. Man, you think I could be able to spell 6 letters, but there you go. So tonight, I got 3 options for you. I like a little bit of everything tonight, but we're going to go with these ones to start. 97 2+ points in number 18 to get 3 shots on goal. Connor owns the Penguins. I believe he has 27 points in 14 career games. That is 1 below 2 per game. I like him to get 2. And then Zach Hyman, he has over 2.5 shots in his last 3 games. We've mentioned it. This dude is so snake bitten. It has to happen. I got to feel good about it tonight. And this one, this sucks. Whoa. Those odds are not correct. Those aren't correct at all on Jeff Skinner. That's a hand up. That's accountability. I must have had that as a different bet. But Jeff Skinner, they finally changed it. I think it's like -140. Oh no, it's because it's over 3.5. That's why. Never mind. I am good at my job. It's over 3.5 shots on goal, +175. Bet365. They finally learned. They were checking the game logs and the box scores, seeing this guy has smashed this every single game besides one. I'm moving it up a little bit to 4 shots tonight, +175. Just put a little sprinkle on that bad boy as well. And then finally, it's Victor Arvidsson to get a power play point this evening. That one I mentioned. I just like the spot. I think he needs to eventually get a point. It's going to have to happen at some point. So we'll see if that can get done tonight. When you look at these ones, Daniel, what jumps out to you right now? I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone because okay. I messed up the third one. That's +375. I did a terrible job of this today. Arvidsson is super juiced up. That's why I wanted to bet it. Daniel, when you look at these bad boys, which one is speaking to you? Which one looks profitable?
I would take the middle option there at Jeff Skinner, and I would even go higher. I'm looking at it right now. It's sitting at +850 for 6 shots. I don't know. Jeff Skinner, again, is the guy that is stirring the drink. If he's on that power play, he's probably going to register a few shots. So if I'm looking at the board, I'm saying the Jeff Skinner pick is probably the one to even go higher.
Let me take a little peek here into our YouTube poll right now, because 62% of you folks out there are saying ride with 97 and 18. It's a get right game. It's a get right game. It's a get right game. I've pretty much said that in every game, but this is the one where it's going to happen. Skinner, he's tied with Victor Arvidsson as well. But as you guys always know, I've already bet all three of them, and I did throw them in a nice little parlay responsibly. Just a nice little sprinkle out there. Pat, look at how quick he is on that. He changed that to plus 375. He makes me look smart when I'm not good at building very, very simple graphics. Let me know in the chat what you're feeling about these bets. And Daniel, you know what I'm going to ask you. It's my final question always. Give me a score prediction and an anytime goal scorer tonight.
Well, my score prediction was he put the old cell phone gun to my head and asked me to predict this morning, and I said that I was going to it's going to be a Pittsburgh win, 4-3 in overtime. I am going to drink my nation beer as I do that, drinking away my sorrows of a 4-3 overtime loss with the anytime goal scorer of our boy Jeff Skinner.
Dan, it's almost like you read my mind, because we were going to end with a little shouts out to our pals at Odd Company right here. We at Oilers Nation pumped to partner with Odd Company for our Nation Beer Everyday Lager for game day and every day. It's a Friday night. You got Sid, you got Connor. You're going to need to crack open a couple of these guys. They go down incredibly smooth. Go check them out. Go to their Ritchie location. You can get them there, or check liquorconnect.com. Find out your liquor stores. Or as I keep saying, just tell your liquor store attendant to start buying this, and he will. He will, because those are trustworthy liquor attendant guys. For myself tonight, I think the over is going to cash. I'm going to say 5-2 Edmonton Oilers. As I mentioned, each of the last three games in Rogers Place between these two teams, the last 3 years, they have all had at least 7 goals scored in them. And I want a little Friday night offense. So I'm going to say 5-2 Edmonton Oilers. And Victor Arvidsson scores his first goal of the season for the Edmonton Oilers. Dan, will he do it while diving all over the ice? Possibly. But I know
Probably.
You're not. Probably. Dan pointed to me when we first started watching this year. Arvidsson does spend a lot of time flipping and flopping like it's the NBA out there. And but he's our guy. We're going to defend him through and through. Dan, big shout out to you for joining us. Preston Hodkinson from the Daily Hive. That was pretty. I liked hearing a little bit about Yessi Pugliarvi. Obviously, producer Pat behind the scenes, making me look smart even when I make mistakes. All of you in the chat, throw down your courtesy like on the way out. And big shout out to our sponsors, Sherwood Ford the Giant, Sherwood Power Sports Marine, Greta Bar Yegg, Wilhock Beef Jerky, Odd Company, Bet365. Nailed it. Got them all. Bang. There you go. And unfortunately, the Nation Vacation is completely sold out right now. If you didn't get in it, you're not going to be able to come on this one. But hey, we're still going to have our Nation parties at Greta all year. And maybe, because I don't actually know, we might be doing another one later this season. Who knows? We'll see. Dan knows what I'm talking about. Dan knows a little something. Love you all. Shout out to all of you. We'll be live here right after the game. As always, Friday night, me, Dan, Pat, breaking down what we hope to be an Edmonton Oilers victory. Cross your fingers. Let's go. Let's score some goals, and let's get right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you later tonight.